Hey, you, and welcome back to another vlog or podcast, wherever you're listening or viewing from. Oh, it's a beautiful day. I'm out here in one of our parks. It's a very secluded park, you have to pay to get in. So I chose this one so we won't be interrupted by, the unhoused people or people walking by. Or I did see somebody walk by earlier, but they might come back. But anyway, welcome back. Two things I like to mention is number one, I post videos every Wednesday. So if you want to join me every Wednesday, I post videos every Wednesday right now until I get the proper equipment and all that good stuff. And then I'll, of course, post most frequently. I'm still trying to learn how to do this, so bear with me. I do have good, juicy stories coming up. Anywho, so if you join me for part one of how I met my husband, how we got engaged, all that, it's down below or up or this way or that way. I don't know. I think it's down below. This is part two. So I just want to say another thing, that when I said that my father was unalived a year later, that wasn't true. I don't know why I said that. I think I was drunk. But anyhow, no, I wasn't drunk. I'm kidding. I'm totally joking. They don't allow alcohol in the library. As far as I know, they might. Maybe sneak in some. Anyway, so where did I leave off? Oh yeah, so we got engaged. I was so happy. I was like blissfully ignorant. It was just called blissfully ignorant. To all the shenanigans that he'd done in the past. I was just so excited that he asked me in the first place. I'm so excited that a person outside my stepfather, my mom, actually loved me, really loved me, and asked me to be married to him. You mean somebody actually wanted to get married to this crazy mess? Yeah. So I was already impressed already. Yeah, I wasn't very, yeah. I was, yeah. Anyhow, so we got engaged. So happy. He asked my father first. He's older than me. He's old school like that. So, of course, my stepfather was elated. He was like, yeah, she's getting the fuck out of my house, finally. That's probably what he thought, too. Probably what my mom thought. Actually, I think it was because I did speak to him briefly that he drank a lot. I mean, obviously, he drank a lot and didn't give a fuck. They were just like, somebody wants to marry my crazy ass daughter? Go for it, dude. Like, good luck on that. So, the wedding prep starts. And we're getting ready for my wedding. They're paying for the whole thing, of course, because I'm an only child. I'm spoiled. They're paying for the whole thing. I'm getting my dress. I'm getting my invites. I'm inviting my whole family. I got the venue. It just happened by accident that we wanted to go to this Cuban restaurant. Just happened to be for lunch one day. We're in the area. And I'm looking around. I'm like, oh my God, this is beautiful, gorgeous. And that's how we ended up with the venue. Actually, I had another interview with the venue that day, but I didn't go to it and decided to go. The Cuban restaurant was gorgeous. I was having fun. I invited my friends. My best friend was a bridesmaid, the one who passed away in 2017. I still watch that video every wedding anniversary, June 23rd. I still watch it, just, because I see Danielle and I see my grandma, and they both passed away, and it's good to see them again. Thank God I had that video. That's a great marketing strategy. I remember we went to a bridal show. It was in a convention center. And the video photographer that owned that business, Robles Video or something or other, I don't know if they're still available anymore, but one of the things they said always stuck with me. You're gonna wanna have your wedding video because 10 years from now, people may have passed away and you're gonna see them. And it happened. Danielle passed away in 2017. Got married in 2007. So, unfortunately, that did happen. And I'm so grateful I have that video to see her and see how she was, and that laugh. I'll never forget that laugh. So, we had a beautiful wedding. And me being the only child and a hopeless romantic, okay, that's me, a hopeless romantic. I was a lovelorn teenager. As a matter of fact, I was so obsessed with soap operas, okay? I watched All My Children, One Life to Live, and General Hospital religiously. And I videotaped it while I was going to school. I had a VCR in my room. I'm aging myself. VCR, remember those things that the cassette? I had a timer on, so every time I would go to school, I put the timer on and I recorded my soap operas. And then when I came home from school, I watched them before I even did my homework. That was priority. I was like, oh my God, what's gonna happen to this? What's gonna happen to her? And, you know, and because I watched so many soap operas, I was so lovelorn, I'm hopeless romantic. You know, I was brought up with yacht rock radio, love songs on the coast. If you're from California, you understand what I'm talking about. I slept with that to go to bed with, love songs on the coast. Coast 103.5. So I was already a romantic and lovelorn teenager. And I had this whole idea in my head of how marriage was supposed to be, what my expectations were. I thought we would get married, have a beautiful wedding. The honeymoon was the next day. We'd go to Paris. I've always wanted to go to Paris. That's been my thing since I was little. I will one day go to Paris. I'm bound and determined to go to Paris, and I will one day. I'm manifesting it right now. I am going to Paris. So I wanted the whole romantic thing. I was setting myself up for failure, now that I think about it. When things didn't turn out the way I envisioned it, I went on a downward spiral. Emotionally, I was already dealing with enough emotion with my father's death and dealing with his, and that will be another video, and I will go into detail about how I dealt with those emotions and how I dealt with that whole scenario. So if you ever had to be a young person, I was 26-year-old dealing with paying for his funeral, closing out his bank accounts, all this stuff. And I was just 26 years old. That in and of itself was devastating, on top of him not being anymore earthside. So just grief on top of grief on top of grief. Plus the expectations of my marriage. I was dealing with a lot emotionally. But I'm not the type of person who verbalizes it outwardly, because I was never taught that. I was always taught to hide my emotions. I didn't have a voice. I didn't know how to speak for myself. I was taught that to be seen and not heard. You know how Gen Xers are and boomers treated us, because that's how they were treated. So obviously they would treat their children the same. So I can't really fault my mother for that, even though I did have a lot of anger towards my mother, a lot. But I realized over the years that she only dealt with, no, let me rephrase that. She hadn't dealt with her trauma at all. She didn't have a voice either. She was a victim herself. So, of course, she didn't want her child to become a victim, obviously. She's not a monster that way. But it just turns out that she was raised a certain way, and that's how you do it to your children. I mean, I can't fault her for that. I really can't. For many, many years I was angry for her for that. So, I don't know why I got on that tangent. I thought my honeymoon was going to be the next day. It wasn't. It turned out to be a month later, which we had an opportunity to go to Cancun. His brother let us have his timeshare that he had in Cancun at the time, and he was going to let us use it. All we had to do was pay for our airline tickets, and that was it. We could provide our own food, went to the grocery store, all that stuff, right? Did he want to do it? No. I was mad. I always wanted to go to Cancun. Always. He didn't want to. So what does he do? He books a cruise I already taken with my mother a year prior, which is a 3-day cruise to Ensenada in Catalina Island. Like, I already did that, been there, done that with my mom. Like, why don't, to me it was like, we had an opportunity to go to Cancun and we didn't? Excuse me? He was too busy with his active addiction. All he cared about was drinking. He was a functional alcoholic, mind you. He had a steady job. And that's what threw me off at first. Well, he has a good job. He's making good money, has his own place, and yet he drinks a lot. But it doesn't affect him in a negative way. He's still able to keep a job and all that stuff. I didn't know what a functional alcoholic was before. I just knew an alcoholic, period. I didn't know there was a functional one. So, through the months, now mind you, I only lived with my parents up until this point. Never lived with anybody else. Never lived by myself. So, I'm in a situation where I got married to a drunk. Dealing with, or not even dealing with my father's death yet. Because I didn't want to deal with it. I was like, no, I don't want to deal with it. I don't just get out of here. That didn't happen. Let me move on with my life. And I thought I was doing fine at the time. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. But it was affecting me so bad. Plus his drinking on top of that. Plus my childhood trauma on top of that. So all 3 biggies at the same time. I started abusing alcohol because he was abusing alcohol. But the difference between him and I was I could stop at any time. He couldn't. He had an impulse to drink. I could stop, where I could drink for 2 or 3 days and then stop. And then pick it up like a week or a month later or something like that. No, he couldn't do that. It was every day. 12 packs of beer every single day. And on the weekends, sometimes 18 packs of beer. And some tequila or brandy on the weekends. Because he wanted to treat himself. I look back at that time and I do not know how I survived that. I really don't. I barely did, as a matter of fact. In the year, I think it was a year later, we had gotten to a monstrous fight. I mean, I'm talking door slamming, name calling. Why can't you stop? Why can't you fucking stop? I don't understand you, and, you're just doing this to hurt me, and, things like that. And door slamming, and it was toxic. It's very, very toxic. Plus, I was grieving from my father and all that. And I just wanted the pain to stop. I wanted it to stop. I thought if I didn't want to be here anymore, Earthside, I didn't want to deal with it. I didn't want to be here. I don't want to deal with the pain and all that. I wanted him to take me seriously as a wife. And I wanted him to realize what he's doing was affecting me as well. Of course, he couldn't do that. That's what addiction is. addiction is an impulse that you cannot control. The person cannot control. They're not doing it to hurt you. They're not doing it anything to you. They're doing it to themselves because again, it's an impulse. They don't want to deal with their trauma. Okay, they don't want to deal with what's happening in their makeup and all that stuff, and they're looking for an out. And their version of an out is drinking. And I can understand that, but I don't have an addictive personality, so I was never addicted to it. But I can understand how the alcohol helps with dealing with the pain and all that. So there was one night where the fighting had got so bad. I was just crying in bed uncontrollably. I was drinking myself. He went to bed. And there was one night that I went to the spare room. I said I went to the spare room and I never came back. Because after that point, we had slept in separate bedrooms. It was no longer a typical marriage. Only a year after we got married. That's sad. But so it was one typical night of fighting, and I didn't want to be here anymore. I couldn't take the pain. I didn't want to feel anymore. Not that I didn't want to die necessarily. I did not want to, kill myself. But I just wanted the pain to stop. And I remember, it's not easy to talk about. I remember there was pills of Norco in the medicine cabinet, and I took a handful of them. And after I did that, I felt a sense of relief, and then I felt like, oh shit, the fuck did I just do? What, this can harm me. Like, I was freaking the F out. So I called the suicide hotline, and they sent an ambulance over. And this was like 2 or 3 in the morning. So I went on the 78 hold and all that stuff. And so after that whole experience, then I went to counseling for 6 months. I don't remember too much what we talked about. I think it was about Jim. There again, I wasn't ready to deal with the whole getting better, and because to be honest with you, I really didn't, think too much about the bullshit. Sorry, my therapist, if you're watching. But at that time, 2009, I wasn't taking it seriously. I was like, yeah, this is something I have to do. I mean, I feel a little bit better, but because we never really deep dived into my original issue, which is childhood trauma. And that childhood trauma, man, fucking gets you. It really, really affects everything that you do. I mean, relationship-wise, how you handle stress, how you handle anger, all that stuff. And I never touched on that, on my childhood trauma at all. It was just what my initial assessment was, what I had to deal with at the time. But there was an underlying, it's like an onion. It's like an underlying level to where I wasn't getting to, and that manifested into all the anger, all the pain, onto my marriage. So I went from here, and it went boom. And although I had went to that particular counseling, it did help a little bit, because it got me to go back to school, got me to get my associate's degree. While I was going to work, like I said, the other office job was bought out, I had to get another job at a mini storage. I was assistant manager there. And so I was working full-time, plus going to school 3 times a week. That was hard. Because I knew that I needed to get, when I need to get done, I need to go to school, I need to study. But he was doing his shenanigans, and it was affecting me too. It was making me angry. He was like, trying to bother me, and I'm like, go away, and banging on the door, like, what are you doing in there? And I'm like, I'm trying to fucking study. And it was a miracle that I finished in the first place. And me, without any ambitions of being, never had any ambitions. Like I said, I went to school part-time and I was a social butterfly and what have you. But this time I was serious because I knew that what I was dealing at home wasn't ideal and I wanted to get out. I did not want to go back to my parents' house. Even though they said I could. I knew deep down in my heart that that wasn't a safe place for me anymore. So I couldn't go back. So essentially I was trapped. And that's sad to say when you say it's not a safe place to go back home. It wasn't. I finished school by the grace of God. Graduating in 2012. And still, we were in active addiction. I remember after the whole pill situation, he said, oh, you were only doing that to get attention. Well, yeah, I want to get your freaking attention and see that, hey, what I'm doing is fucking up my wife. Maybe I should stop doing it. Right? But no. That didn't work that way. That's not how addiction works. So I graduated in 2012. I went to Al-Anon. When did I go to Al-Anon? See, I have PTSD and sometimes that causes my memory to be fuzzy. Like I'm losing, sometimes I don't remember specific dates or stuff like that. So I think I started 2014? Yeah. No. Yeah, 2014. That's when the nail hit the head. Was that alright? Did I say that right? The nail hit the head? Wait a minute. The nail hit the head. Head that hit the... I don't know. Ugh. Nail that hit the head. Hit the nail. Whatever. Nails and whatever. The hammer that hit the nail. Or 2014 happened. And we got into another major fight. And he used to grab my hands and drag me off the couch. That's one detail I would say, others I won't. But that one in particular, after that incident, he assaulted me. And he stopped what he was doing. He went to bed. I ran out the house, called a friend. And after that incident, that's when he realized that, hey, something was wrong. I need help. And so he took a week off of work and went to rehab. That was the first time that I ever been with him that he actually went to rehab. He had tried to stop drinking numerous times years before, but this was like 6 months and that's it. And then he'd go back. 6 months he'll stop and then he'll go back, and 6 months he'll stop and then he'll stop for 3 months and that type of thing. After that incident in 2014, he did stop completely. He went to rehab. But by then, everything was piled up, piled up, piled up, piled up. And I never viewed it as a typical marriage. He had done, and me too, because I want to say one thing. I don't entirely blame him for it, and it's hard to say that. It's hard to admit, because I fucked up too. I could have handled it way better than I did. I could have not screamed at him, not put him down so much like I had, and not reacted in an anger way. And so as a result of that, we just, were constantly like that. But so in that, I realized that so it's not entirely his fault. So he goes to rehab. We're still in separate bedrooms. We have been. And he got sober. I was proud of him for that. He did stay sober 10 years. But then recently he started drinking again because he lost his job. He used to work in an appliance store and they went out of business. And I always knew that the shoe was gonna drop. It was always in the back of my head. I always knew that. So it's no surprise to me, unfortunately, that this happened. I respect my husband as a person. Do I love him as a typical wife? No. I'm not in love with him. I love him, though. I respect him. But there's just too much water under the bridge, too much damage that happened between the time we even got together to the time we got married up until now. There's just, I hate to say that. I really hate to say that, because I didn't get married to think one day I was going to get divorced or, have all this toxicity. I didn't get married thinking that. I got married thinking that he was going to be my husband and we're going to love each other and no matter what. But it wasn't that way. And it's sad, and that's part of my grief. Grieving what I wanted it. What I wanted my marriage to be. And it never was like that. Sorry. Like I said, it's still tender to talk about. It still hurts. And I don't like talking about it. Oh, God, fuck. So, yeah. I just have to remind myself that I'm only human. And I'm not superhuman. You don't do things to me and think I'm gonna forget about it. I mean, I forgive him for me, for myself, so I don't carry the weight of that anymore. But yeah, it still hurts. And I'm still working through that through therapy. it sucks that I have to. Sorry, I thought I heard something. Sucks that I have to feel this way, and I don't want to feel this way. And recently, as a matter of fact, I had a stroke through medication reaction, Tamiflu, and you can look it up, Google it. Tamiflu has all these crazy side effects. I was paralyzed on one side, left side, and my speech was affected. It was crazy. It was scary. It was very, very scary. And I had to go through 2.5 months of rehab, and I'm rehabbing, and he went through it with me like a rock star, you know. He supported me. He helped me visit me in rehab, all that stuff. So for that, I'm grateful. But I'm missing the other part of marriage. That loving part, that intimacy. And no, don't get me wrong. I know it's not rainbows and sunshines and butterflies and all that shit. I know that. No longer a teenager. No longer think that, oh my god, like, so romantic and all this bullshit. I know that. But at least you have the beginning of that to look on when you go through bad times. I don't. It was never like that. It was never ever like that with Jim and I. And that's sad to say, and it sucks, and I hate it, and I desperately wish it was different. I really do. Because the age difference doesn't help either. It's funny, he's like 68 years old who still acts like a 20-year-old. But that's how men are, right? I'm just kidding, I don't know. Grief, like I said, grief will never go away. Any kind of grief. But it's the way we handle it moving forward. I choose to reflect on it. Yes, it does hurt. As you can see, I was crying. It hits a nerve. It really does. But I don't let it define me anymore. I do not let it drag me down. I have a life to live. I still have life in me. My speech and my ability to walk was taken from me briefly. And I know now that I have so much to live for. I'm able to walk now. I'm able to talk to you and not like talk like, not like that anymore. I can do that. I might not be 100% yet. No, as a matter of fact, I just stopped walking with my cane in October. So I think I'm doing really pretty good right now. And that's when I wanted to start this channel and my podcast. I know I should have started it 6 years ago. Oh my God, I can't believe that I'm saying that. 6 years ago, I had this idea. But I didn't think nobody would give a shit, But then I thought to myself, well, people might not feel so alone when they hear that you've been through the same things. So I think if we build a community of people who are grieving, any kind of grief, as a matter of fact, I was in one of the lives last weekend. I think it was last weekend. By the way, if you're a fan of Sister Wives, like I am, I'm an OG Sister Wives fan. I've seen it since the beginning, since 2010. So if you're a Sister Wives fan, please look at Notes to Self 444. She's amazing. She's actually in the same religion as the Sister Wives, the AUB, and so she gives her own perspective on why they react to things, how, you know. I just started looking at YouTube channels who go through all the episodes, like maybe like a year or two ago. I came across the channel like a year ago, and she talks about, on her channel, she talks about grief and marriage, the grief of yourself, because they had no other choice. They were told what to do, period. That was it. I mean, you did this, XYZ, period, and shut up. And that's, you're supposed to deal with it as a woman. And when you break out of that, there's grief that comes with that. And that's why I reached out to her, because I think we have, I'm hoping eventually when I get all set up and get all these fancy equipment and shit like that I could do an interview with her. I would love to, because she's amazing. She inspires me. As a matter of fact, whenever I used to watch her reactions to it, she would come up with the same things that I would say in my head. Like, girl, queen, we're on the same wavelength, you and me. Like, okay? Yeah, Robin, yeah. And I watched the episode, and I would say things at the TV. I scream things at the TV. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? You invented girl games and blah, blah, blah. And then I turn around and go to her channel, and she says the same thing. And I'm like, oh my God, yes, queen. Yeah, right here. So, if you're so inclined, please go watch her channel. As a matter of fact, her info is on one of my earlier videos. She commented. So give her a follow if you're an OG sister fan like me. So thank you for joining me. It was hard to talk about, but also releases some of the, tenderness that I have. Thank you for sticking with me through. I'm a brand new channel. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I'm doing it anyway. Thank you for joining me on this. And I think I'm doing it the right way now. It's this way. I used to do it this way, but this way. I'm used to doing this way because I used to do TikToks 6 years ago. And by the way, I have my TikTok account, a new one I started. Erica with a K. So follow me on TikTok. I haven't done it in 6 years, and I'm starting. Everything is brand new, and I'm starting to figure out how to do videos again. I don't remember how I did them. But I remember during lockdown, I did all my TikToks. I was bored. I had just graduated, actually March 20th of 2020, and then the world shut down. And then I was grieving because of that, because I thought that, oh my God, I did all this work for this certificate, and I'm not going to be able to find a job and all that stuff. And so I just started doing TikToks, and I love to perform. I'm a theater kid, I'm a choir kid, and so I have that background. And I hadn't done it up to that point in 20 years, and it felt so good to perform again. I miss performing. I love to perform. I love to act. I love to sing. I don't do very well anymore, but it brought back a piece of me that I had lost so many years. And I will go through that in another episode of feeling you're belonging to a group, but not really. So we'll go over that in another episode. But thank you for joining me. I so appreciate it. Please like and just subscribe to me. Please keep coming back. Bear with me as I get my bearings. New episodes every Wednesday. Temporarily until I get, more fancier equipment and all the stuff. Hopefully I'll get one of those little Mikey mics, like, oh yeah. So this is my podcast, and this is what we're doing, and yeah, don't you like me, my little microphone? I'm just so professional right now. So performing live, blah blah blah. Sorry. I can't wait to get my microphone official then. Anyhow, thank you for coming. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you next time. Take care.